In this video, I'd like to provide students with an introduction to the modern biology class in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. It may be surprising for some to find a program like ours that focuses on classical philosophy and scholastic philosophy, teaching a course in modern biology, but there's a couple of reasons why I'm interested in doing so. First of all, we're not anti-modern science in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. In fact, we believe that we're able to more truly and rightly teach modern sciences according to the scientific method, and we're able to keep modern scientific investigation in its proper place, which actually can make our students better scientists, better students of the natural sciences, and I'll explain that a bit in this first lesson, which is an introduction. So one reason is because we believe that we can actually help students to put biology and chemistry and physics in its proper place within the larger picture of their studies. Secondly, because there are many errors taught in modern science classes because the students and the teachers don't study reasoning or classical philosophy. And thirdly, because practically it's an important subject that students need for high school study, diploma requirements, college admission, and things like that. And we'd like to help them, our students, while they focus on classical Catholic studies as they should, we'd like to help them to efficiently and rightly complete the study of modern biology and the other natural sciences as high school courses. So this modern biology course is recommended usually for students who would be considered freshmen in high school. The first of the modern natural sciences, there is something of an order to them in which they should be studied. And we recommend modern biology for freshman students in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy who, while they're pursuing their classical Catholic studies, can satisfy requirements to study modern biology in an efficient and true way that's taught from a Catholic perspective with the insights available from classical natural philosophy to help. So the first thing that I should do, I think, in this introduction is explain what the difference is between modern science and classical philosophy. And I actually should correct this to not just say classical philosophy, but classical natural philosophy. What's the difference between natural philosophy and modern science? Well, the issue has to do not with the object of the study, because in both modern science and in natural philosophy, our study is focused on the natural world. That's what we study in natural philosophy, and that's what we study in modern natural science. The difference between the two is in the method of investigation. Modern science, in modern science, the method of investigation is what's called commonly the scientific method. Okay, and this was developed by Francis Bacon and published in a book called the Novum Organum in 1620. This is the method employed in the study of modern science. In classical natural philosophy, we use the scholastic method or the Aristotelian method. And I'm just going to refer to this as demonstrative reasoning. Sorry, a little messy. Demonstrative reasoning. So what's fundamentally different about natural philosophy and modern science is not the object of study. Natural philosophy is concerned, in physics at least, with the study of the order of the natural world. Modern science is concerned with understanding the causes and elements and principles of the natural world. But what's different is the method by which these studies are pursued. Now, I would argue right from the beginning that it's impossible to understand the causes or true elements or principles of modern science when they're studied according to the scientific method, because the scientific method allows only for physical, sensual observations. So we're basically taking the faculty of reason out of human study, out of the study of the natural world, when we subject natural studies to observation alone. So the first and most significant problem that I would argue concerning modern science is that it's pursued through the investigation of the senses with no real room for reason to be able to work. In fact, modern schools don't even teach the art and science of reasoning. It's intentionally omitted from the curriculum, and the entire study allows only senses, 5 senses, through labs and experiments to do the work of investigation. And that's simply not human. Okay, that's the big problem with modern science. Natural philosophy, of course, it includes sensual observation, but it goes beyond sensual observation to incorporate also the conclusions and insights of reason, to go beyond what is visible and sensible to the real principles and causes and elements behind all that we see in the natural world. So the difference between what I would recommend for all students as true Christian learning about the natural world, which is classical natural philosophy, and modern science, is again not the fact that in modern science we study the natural world and in philosophy we don't. That's not true. The difference is the method of studying the world in natural philosophy is more perfect than the method of studying the natural world in modern natural sciences. It's no surprise that modern natural sciences lead most people who engage in them to what's known as agnosticism, which is a conclusion that nothing can be known. Modern science, because the natural world was never intended by God to be observed and studied and understood by human physical senses alone, the natural world leaves us in a state of confusion and ignorance when we don't employ the art and science of reasoning. It's that simple. The natural world was designed by God to be investigated and understood by human beings who are created in the image of God, composing of soul and body, and capable of reason. The natural world is to be understood through both the senses and the expert use of the faculty of reason. Natural philosophy is the correct way to study the natural world. Natural science, modern science without natural philosophy, is actually an error and false method of studying the natural world. Now, when we combine the two, as I said in the beginning, when we combine the two, we actually have something that's useful. We have the full context and study of natural philosophy, and into that context, we can set experimental, observational, scientific investigation. Okay, so we don't have to choose one or the other. If we were going to choose one or the other, we should choose natural philosophy. But we can do both. And since students have to engage to some degree in the modern world, which is so firmly established in its errors, it's really best for us to address this and to try to make the most of it, rather than choose one or the other and just spite ourselves when this isn't difficult to learn in the first place, so we might as well do both. But understand the difference between the two. The error is not in the subject matter, but in the method of investigation. With that behind us, now let's just get into the study of modern biology. Okay, the sciences divide into 3. There's modern biology, physics and chemistry. We offer courses in all of these subjects, these modern science subjects, in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. But as always, what I've done is sought out in my research to find textbooks that are careful to avoid the errors of many modern textbooks and school teachers. For example, when I choose a science textbook, one of the first things that I look for, I don't care if a science textbook proposes a theory about something. That's fine. Even in the Catholic Church, the Church gives scientists the freedom to propose theories, to conduct experiments, and so on. I'm not concerned with theory. What should concern us is any time that a person talking about a theory changes the language so that all of a sudden he's presenting information not as if it's a theory, but as if it's an established, unquestionable fact. The minute that that language changes from proposing theories to assuming proven facts, that's when we know that we've moved from true scientific investigation to blatant indoctrination and false teaching. Okay, so when I look at a textbook, the first thing I look for is whether or not the author is careful enough in his language to speak of theories as theories and facts as facts, and to keep those two things separate. Okay? If you take up a modern science book and you read about things that are proposed by scientists as theories that either have not or cannot be proven, when you see a textbook that talks about those things as, or if you look in a modern textbook, you'll see that most textbooks talk about things that are theories as if they're already proven facts. And that's an evil that has to be avoided. That's not science. For example, we may say that matter is composed of atoms, okay? That's a theory. That's called atomic theory. It's a theory that matter is composed of atoms. It's impossible to prove, or it has never been proven, that matter is composed of atoms. It's a theory that's proposed to explain how matter is composed. If you present that as a theory, fine. But you must always speak of it as a theory. The minute that you begin talking about atoms as if someone has seen an atom or measured or observed an atom in any actual way, you're not telling the truth. You're speaking of a theory as a fact. And especially for students who don't know any better, that's very misleading. That's not science. That's not teaching. That's indoctrination, and that's to be avoided and eliminated from our studies. So the first thing that I look for in choosing a textbook is I want to see that the author respects the difference between theory and fact. Okay? Atomic theory is a good example. Evolution is another good example. Evolution is a theory. If you'd like to propose a theory of evolution as an explanation for how things originated in the natural world, fine. As long as you always refer to it as a theory, because it's not proven fact, it cannot be proven fact, and it will never be proven fact. It's a theory that's used to attempt to explain the origin of species, for example. So my primary concern is that we separate theory and fact. Okay, that's my first concern when looking for a textbook. Secondly, I look to see if it's efficient in teaching content. I'm not interested in books that are filled with illustrations and activities and busy work and all kinds of unnecessary information and resources. I'm not interested in that. We need an efficient natural science textbook that teaches the content of the sciences and gets it over with. Okay, so really those are the two things I look for. I look for accuracy in the language of the textbook and that we keep theory and fact separated at all times. And secondly, I look for efficiency in the textbook, that the author just gets right to it, teaches the science, and gets it over with, because we don't have time to waste playing around with busy work and useless activities. So in this textbook that I've chosen, 3 subjects are covered, all of which come under the science of biology. The first part of our study, our textbook covers botany, which is the study of plants. The second part of our textbook, zoology, is the study of animals. And thirdly, the study of physiology is the study of the form and function of animal bodies. So these 3 parts make up the science of biology. And I didn't mention this, but I should. The study of biology is simply the study of life. In Greek, bios means life, and logos is, we can use that to say the study or reason of something, science of something. Biology is the study of life that divides into 3 different categories. Botany is the study of plant life. Zoology is the study of animal life. And physiology is the study of the form and function of bodies, living bodies. All right, that's simple enough to understand what biology is, the 3 divisions, the difference between modern science and classical natural philosophy, what I look for in a science textbook, and lastly, I'd like to talk about what our goal is in the study of modern biology. Really, to be honest, I'd like to help students satisfy modern high school course requirements and lead them through a study of modern biology so that they can add modern biology to their transcript and complete the study so that they can pursue a high school diploma and have completed a year of high school modern science. Really, that's it. If you want to learn about the natural world, I don't recommend modern natural science. As a Christian, if you want to learn about the natural world, I recommend natural philosophy. That's the proper place to learn about the natural world. If you're looking to satisfy a high school requirement, add a course to your transcript that's considered necessary by most modern colleges, then I encourage you to add modern biology to your study of natural philosophy, and I assure you we'll cover the subject as efficiently as possible and better than most high schools do it, because you look at a modern high school and it can be impressive. You can see they have science teachers and books and laboratories and all this stuff. But what people don't pay attention to is that in a modern school, students are given grades. All of the students don't master the lessons. They don't do all the homework. They don't pass all the tests. They do a portion of what the school makes available in the science classes, and they simply get grades. And one thing that science classes are famous for is curving student grades. So not only do they just get different grades for their studies, but even worse than that, the grades are curved, which means that if a teacher gives a test in a modern science class, and let's say the highest grade in the class is an 80%, which would be a C in most schools, what the teacher will actually do is reorganize the letter grades so that now an 80% gets an A, and maybe a 70%, which would have been a D, is now a B. And the grades are curved so that the highest score is made an A and the rest are all arranged under that. So when you look at what a modern school offers in science, do not be impressed, because first of all, you have no idea what the students actually learn of what's available, and secondly, the grades are usually curved, and it's very misleading when you look at a modern science course and program. Secondly, even worse than that, students are grouped into different levels. So you have an honors class, a level 1 class, a level 2 class, and really the only students who are getting a decent biology class in high school are the honors students, and again, they're being graded. They're not required to master the material. They're given the material, given a test on a certain day, they get a grade, and that's it. They move on to the next lesson, to the next lesson. When the course is over, they're given credit for biology. No one really has any clue what they've actually learned or studied or mastered. It's just added to the transcript. The letter grade is stuck on the transcript, and everybody moves on. It's really not the impressive thing that it appears. At least in this course, because this is a self-paced online course that you can work through, we can guarantee that every student who takes our modern biology course masters the content of the course. We have a great textbook. It's very easy to study. Our assessments are good in measuring a student's mastery of the content of each lesson. And at the end, we can be sure that a student who's gone through and completed a modern biology course or other modern science course in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy actually knows the content of that course. So don't be impressed by modern science classes in modern schools. They're really not what they appear to be. Work through this course at your own pace, master every lesson. It'll lead you through all of the important divisions of modern biology. And if you do so, you'll have a better knowledge of the subject of biology than almost all students in modern schools. And even better, if you're able to add natural philosophy, which should be your priority, you'll have a greater understanding of science and natural science, and actually think about science as the famous founding fathers of the sciences thought about it, who were classically educated men who studied the natural world. So studying the modern sciences in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy is really, I would argue, the best way to study the modern sciences, because modern science is set in its proper context. It has added to it the benefits of natural philosophy. Our textbook is more accurate in its language than most modern textbooks, and it covers all of the parts and divisions of biology efficiently, allowing you to make good progress through the study. Now, as for the content, I'm going to leave that to you. It's very simple. In the next video, we'll walk through the first chapter together, the first lesson, and look at the content just to make sure things are clear. But I wanted to provide this first lesson as an introduction to modern biology to help you understand what's different about biology studied in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, how you can become the best student of the modern natural sciences possible by including the study of classical natural philosophy, and helping you to get started with a good understanding of the bigger pictures to keep an eye on as we work through modern biology together. Just one last thing before I close. Before I took up the study of the classical liberal arts, I was a pre-med student at Rutgers University. I was a biology major, preparing to go to medical school, and I was working in a dental research lab in New Jersey. So I have background in natural sciences. I would have been working in science and medicine had I not been drawn to classical studies and work in education. And so even though I may be a classicist and my primary concern and interest as a teacher is in classical liberal arts studies, I do have sufficient background and experience in the modern natural sciences to help you through these courses, allow you to finish these high school requirements, and also learn a good deal with the insights that classical studies makes available. So I hope that gives you some assurance and comfort knowing that I'm not just a Latin and Greek teacher who's talking about science. I actually was a science student, worked in lab research, and was a year away from medical school before I chose to study classics. So natural science actually is an interest of mine, something that I do take seriously and enjoy studying and talking about. But there are problems with it that I want to address. And I think that if you're interested in modern sciences and you're willing to learn about classical philosophy, you can actually become a leading scientist who can bring insights and wisdom to these studies that no other modern students can. And that's what I'm really hoping to help develop and produce in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. So I hope that's a helpful introduction. Good luck in your studies in this course, and please contact me anytime you have any questions or need any help. You can go ahead and get started with lesson 1, but I'm going to add a video that walks through that material, which you might want to check out before you're done. Okay? I hope that's helpful. God bless your studies.